Hi, Love Bug. Welcome to the Naked Yoga Podcast. This podcast is all about incorporating bits and pieces of yogic philosophy and spirituality into your everyday life. I'm your host, Nika Okoli, a graduate student at Columbia University's Spirituality Mind-Body Institute. I'm also a yoga and meditation instructor at a little studio called Core Power Yoga. You may have heard of it. My mission here is to help you nourish your mind, body, and spirit connection. Each podcast episode will begin with a guided meditation, followed by the core of the episode pairing a spiritual concept with science. Lastly, each episode will end with a mindful closure, providing you with actionable steps you can do after listening to deepen your mind, body, and spirit connection. So, without further ado, let's get right into today's episode. Hello, my little love bugs. Welcome back to another episode. I have watched so much Bridgerton. I think it has ruined me for modern dating. I kind of just want to come out and say it because, oh my God. Did you guys see the way Colin, proclaimed his love to Penelope? Wow. If it's not like that, I really don't think I want it. So, anyways... In today's episode, I want to talk about embracing the unknown and really just the power of prayer and how prayer can help us in our spiritual practice and also in our mental health practices as well. But before we get started, obviously we have to start with our opening meditation, which I am really excited to do because it's actually inspired by Dr. Saskin, who is a professor at Columbia University. He teaches the Spirit, Mind, Body Medicine class and integrating spirituality into psychotherapy, which was honestly, out of the 2 years I was there, it was probably one of my favorite classes. And so this class, or this meditation rather, it's very much inspired by him. And he does a very similar one in his class. So honestly, if you haven't heard of Dr. Saskin, look him up. And I guess that's it for the kind of introduction into the meditation. I think we can go ahead and get started now. So I invite you to find a comfortable seated position wherever you are. If you feel comfortable, if it's safe to, I invite you to close your eyes and then just begin to notice your breath, noticing what rises with every inhale and what falls with every exhale. Releasing any tension from your mouth, unclenching your jaw, releasing your tongue from the roof of your mouth, allowing your shoulders to shrug down your spine, and just allowing yourself to be supported by whatever is underneath you. Maybe it's your seat in a chair or the earth underneath your feet. Whatever it is, just begin to melt into your support system right now. When you're ready, I invite you to take 5 breaths with me. Big inhale in and out. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Twice more. Inhale and exhale. Last time. Inhale and exhale. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I invite you to begin to envision a ray of light coming from above you. This ray of light is filled with abundance energy. And as it shines down from the source, the sun from above, it connects to your crown chakra. And from your crown chakra space, it begins to melt down all of your chakra centers, filling you up with this abundance energy. And as this abundance energy begins to fill you up from the crown of your head to the tips of your toes, I invite you to feel its warm light and love radiating from inside of your body. Wherever you are, I begin to invite you to leverage your mind's eye and envision yourself on a cliff. This cliff is safe, it's comfortable, and you even have a nice shady spot to sit underneath a large oak tree. In the distance, you see a mountain, and you can't explain why, but you find yourself being drawn to this mountain. The energy of abundance that has filled your body is now pulling you towards the edge of this cliff and towards the mountain that's on the horizon. I invite you to defy all logic and reasoning and to take a step off of this cliff. And just as you begin to fall, the cliff expands to catch you. Step by step, just as you fear you're about to fall, the earth appears to catch you. Feel yourself being guided, held, and protected as you continue on this unknown path. As you inch closer and closer, step by step, to the mountain that is on the horizon. And then suddenly you're there, at the mountain, in new and unfamiliar terrain. But in your heart, you know that this is exactly where you're supposed to be. I invite you to once again connect to that abundance energy radiating from inside all the way out. And we'll begin to close this meditation with 5 breaths. Wherever you are, big inhale in and an exhale out. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Twice more. Inhale and exhale. Last time, big breath in and a breath out. Begin to wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Maybe take a big, good morning stretch as if you're waking up for the day. And I would like to invite you to take a moment to pause the podcast, reflect and journal on your experience in the meditation. And I will see you on the other side. Hello, welcome back. So honestly, that is one of my favorite meditations. It really helps me to just embody and envision trust, because oftentimes we have our goals and we kind of know what we are yearning for in our future, but we don't exactly know how we're going to get there. And that is where the trust in the universe and the faith comes in. And so we talked a little bit about trusting the universe and letting go. And what we really focused on was apigara, which is a yama, which focused on detachment, non-holding, and just really letting things go. But there's actually another element that kind of relates to trust, and I want to talk to you guys about that today. So this is a part of the yamas, niyamas, or the outer observances, and this one is called Ishvara Pradhyana. And so Ishvara translates to supreme being, God, ultimate reality, or the true self, and then Pradhyana means fixing. And so together, what it really means is trusting and fixating on your true self, on God, and letting go of any not worldly attachments, but letting go of the need to control. It's so easy to create these narratives in your head and to think that you know what's best for yourself, kind of similar to the non-attachment energy, being able to disattach from that internal script that you have. But this is really focusing on surrendering, right? So a part of kind of letting things go is really surrendering to the universe and to God. And so when you're practicing Ishvara Pradhyana, the number one thing you should really kind of embrace is just knowing that you know nothing and that you need to just let the universe unfold, and trusting that the universe will catch you and guide your steps, which is something that I think Dr. Saskin illustrates beautifully within that meditation, right? Because we do have these huge lofty goals, and sometimes we get to a point in our lives where we feel well, I'll speak for myself and use I language, something I learned from my social and emotional learning classes. But I feel like I'm at a part in my life where I feel like everything is just kind of falling into place, but I feel stuck and I feel scared and I'm not really ready to take that next step. But today I took a lot of steps. I did my financial aid and I enrolled in my doctoral classes, and I've been chatting now with my new cohort, which is unbelievable. I can't believe that's even happening. But it's really just a part of me being okay, this is the opportunity that the universe has put in front of me. I now need to embrace it full force and let go of my attachment to New York City, my attachment to Columbia University, and just really focus on being aligned with the universe, the ultimate reality, and my true self. Because ultimately, I know that mountaintop is where I want to go, and I don't exactly know what steps I need to make in order to get there, but I kind of have an idea, and I'm stepping out on faith, and this is how it needs to be done. So I really invite you to kind of take some time to think about where you are right now in your life, and then envision that mountaintop, right? Where is it do you want to go? Are you looking for a promotion? Are you looking for a relationship? Are you looking to just move to a new city or make new friends, or just be more present in the moment, right? Whatever you want and desire out of your life, I am a firm believer that it's possible. Because I truly believe that God would not put something on your heart if it wasn't possible for you within this lifetime. So sometimes we kind of have to just let go of all the minor details, all of our big plans, and just lean in to that next step. I was listening to a really great meditation. I believe his name is David G, and it was on releasing fear, and he had a really amazing moment. It's towards the end where he's embrace the trust, and he's you already have so much trust. You trust this next breath to sustain you for the next breath, and you trust the earth to sustain your steps. And there's so many things that we do already that requires an innate amount of trust in us. Right now, we're all trusting our hearts to take the next heartbeat, and we're not worried about it or thinking about it. And so I think there's so many I just think the universe is alive, and we're all being prepared for the highest version of ourselves, for not only ourselves but for each other. Everything is working towards the highest good of everyone. And so sometimes you didn't get that job, or that relationship didn't work out, or whatever disappointments that you may have had recently, they're really just preparing you for your next step and preparing you and your community for what's best for everyone that's involved. So I am a huge proponent in Ishvara Pradhyana. Honestly, just letting go and trusting the supreme being. And now I kind of want to transition into the power of prayer, which honestly, I found this really cool article. My nerd is showing. So I'm just going to read you some of the excerpts from this article, because honestly, it's so cool. And also, sorry, my voice is a little scratchy because I graduated last week and I partied every single day, like Monday, party, Tuesday, drinking, Saturday, like all 7 days, even on Sunday, guys. So please excuse my voice, but I want to read you guys some excerpts from this study on the power of prayer. So this article is called "Do Trust-Based Beliefs Mediate the Associations of Frequency of Private Prayer with Mental Health? A Cross-Sectional Study." So essentially what they're looking at is, does like prayer, like private prayer that's rooted in trust, help mitigate like negative mental health outcomes? And so they began with an analysis of different basically studies rooted in prayer. And so, for example, direct quote now, in a sample of Irish 6th grade students, prayer frequency was consistently inversely associated with psychoticism in Catholic and Protestant students. Further, demonstrated that frequency of prayer is inversely related to depression in caregivers of persons with dementia, and compared to inpatients with and without clinical depression, and found that patients who prayed more often, more than once a day, were less likely to experience major and minor depression compared with patients that prayed less often. So to summarize that, basically this Irish study found that across the board, prayer was able to help 6th grade students, people that were caretakers, people who had dementia, people who were experiencing major and minor depression. And so across the board, they found that prayer was a positive mental health outcome. Now, it wouldn't be science if there wasn't a counter argument. So this British study found that survey data from the general population that frequency of prayer was directly and significantly associated with self-reported symptoms of anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, paranoia, ideation, phobia, and somatization. That's essentially when you like feel things in your body, like just another form of delusions. And in addition, a study with British adults found that prayer frequency directly predicted mental health measured in combinations of anxiety, depression, social dysfunction, and somatic symptoms. So we have like two conflicting like worldviews, right? So we have these like Irish researchers that are like, oh my God, prayer is amazing. Like all these positive mental health outcomes. Then we have these British researchers that are like, oh no, the more they pray, the more they're having like maladaptive like mental health outcomes. And so obviously like we are not aligned when it comes to like what is the results of prayer and how it affects mental health outcomes. So they created this theory. I don't know if they created it, but there is this theory called the expectancy theory. And so the expectancy theory states that when expected outcomes fail to materialize, individuals experience uncertainty, confusion, anxiety, and depression. Further disconfirmation of prayer expectancies is likely to be distressful because individuals may begin to doubt his or her faith when expected answers to prayers are not forthcoming. Research suggesting that religious doubt is associated with greater psychological distress supports this notion. So essentially what the expectancy theory is saying, that like when people are holding on to outcomes, that's where like the root like expectancy is coming from, right? When you are praying for something in particular and you're not getting that back immediately from the universe, you are now questioning your faith. Maybe you think you're like a bad Christian or whatever your faith practice and tradition may be. And also maybe you think, God has abandoned you. And so that results in a lot of like maladaptive like anxiety and depression and honestly just like rumination and kind of spiraling into these like negative outcomes. And I find that just like so interesting, because a huge part of like the yoga faith tradition, if we can call it a faith tradition, I honestly think we kind of can, but I'm not I'm not dissecting that topic today. But a huge part of the faith tradition and the practice of yoga is Ishvaparya. Oh my God, am I saying that right? Hold on. Ishvara Pradhana, in which you are surrendering the outcomes to the universe, right? And they had this really great like methods for this study, in which they asked the participants some questions. They had a lot of protocols, but I just want to highlight this aspect of it because I found it particularly interesting, and I think it kind of makes the point of like how you have to surrender and let go of these outcomes in order to get to like that enlightenment state, samadhi, which is like the end of the yogic journey, like where you reach guru status, but then also like that inner peace, that enlightenment, that like, okay, like everything will be fine. And so let me read you guys the items that they asked the participants in the study. So these items assess whether participants believe their prayers are answered. Number 1, when you pray by yourself, how often is your prayer answered? 2, learning to wait for God's answer to my prayer is an important part of my faith. And 3, when I pray, God does not always give me what I ask for, because only God knows what is best. And so then the participants rated these on a Likert scale. So a Likert scale is like, I'm sure you've seen it before, but it's like A, likely, B, somewhat likely, C, NA, like not at all, or B, never, like C, never, never, never. But you kind of get what I mean. So you kind of rate it on that scale. And so I think these questions are so important, because it's like the first one, like when you pray by yourself, how often is your prayer answered? That is hard for me to answer. As someone who has like a prayer practice and like a meditation practice, I honestly feel like God has answered all of my prayers. And so I would score very high on that Likert scale. I believe they did a 1 to 4. But if you're someone who has like a lot of like anxiety and like obsessive thoughts, like you might not see it that way. And it's so hard when you're kind of counseling people who have like this worldview that's really rigid, and what they want is what they want, and they don't see like other ways to look at a problem. And I think that's just really hard. But I think it's also very important to ask these questions, because it's like it gives a really insightful view to like how someone is thinking about their faith traditions and like a very tangible perspective. The second question, learning to wait for God's answer to my prayer is an important part of my faith. And so that is like huge, you know, and a lot of Christian traditions, huge in the Islamic traditions as well. There's like this concept that God knows all and everything happens in divine timing. And honestly, that is one of like my favorite things to say to myself. Like all things are unfolding in divine timing for the greater good of all beings on this planet, right? But some people don't believe that to be true. And so now their religion, instead of being a protective factor, is now like instigating their spiral, right? And that can just be really hard looking at it from like a spiritual psychologist perspective. Like faith can be such a powerful tool, but if your faith is like not assisting you and like building this resilience and building your comfortability with ambiguity, then it definitely is more of a thorn in your side than anything else. And then the last one, when I pray, God does not always give me what I ask for, because only God knows what is best. I love that one too. Last week, I think I mentioned to you guys that I was really disappointed in my undergraduate university. I went to a safety school and they didn't have a cheerleading team. And Miss Indira, love you if you're listening. She gifted me a yoga mat, and that has honestly just like changed my life. It's been 12 years later, and I got my master's from my number one choice university, and now I'm a yoga instructor, and like yoga is just such a huge integral part of my life. I think when I started like my undergrad, I was really sad, really depressed. I had like low self-esteem. I was crying like every day. You could not pay me to go back to my early 20s. Like it was a shit show. Oh gosh, I don't even know if I'm allowed to cuss on here, but yeah. I think sometimes what's like so pivotal for our growth are these like low moments, right? And I don't know, like if you would have asked me then about my faith, I don't know what I would have told you. I was dating like this atheist guy, so I feel like maybe I would have aligned with him and been atheist as well, but I don't know. I honestly think like this study, and I don't know if I shared with you guys the results, but overall the results were that like if someone is rooted in like a trust-based faith tradition, so like their prayers are rooted in trust in God and the universe, then it does help with their mental health, and it is a protective factor against the diseases of despair. So when you are able to trust in the universe in these ways, it is going to be more protective against you. This study was also published in the Journal of Religion and Health, and I think there's just so much that we need to, it's also number 3. Okay, I love that. My little sign from the universe. And I also think that there's just so much that we need to explore when it comes to our religion and our faith practices and our physical health and our mental health. And even the correlation that mental health is health has been something that's so revolutionary in the last 5 or 10 years. But it's like, honestly, when you're depressed, you're not going to work out. Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy, and people who are happy do not kill people. All right, that was a little Legally Blonde reference if you guys are familiar. But yeah, I think I'm rambling now, but overall I thought it was just really interesting, this article, particularly when it comes to just trust in the universe. And I thought I would talk to you guys about like just surrendering and embracing the unknown through the power of prayer. So I would highly recommend, let's just transition into our honorable closure now. Okay, so for our honorable closure, I want to invite you guys to start a prayer, meditation, gratitude, or manifestation practice, like whichever feels the most comfortable for you. I kind of have a mix right now. Like some days I wake up and I do gratitude. On like the full moon cycle, I'll do like my manifestations. I would say maybe, I don't think I pray as much as I would like to, but I definitely want to pick that back up. And I meditate, honestly, probably on most days. And I think like what is the most helpful for me personally is setting an alarm on my phone at a time where I feel like I have the time to make this happen. So I honestly have like an 8-10 alarm that is dedicated to manifesting my dream life, and I usually will do like a meditation and my gratitude journal at that time. I also when I was working in an office in my 9 to 5, I would take a break after lunch every day to just sit in the park and pray. And so honestly, finding a way to kind of make it a part of your routine will be the most helpful for you, and what I the most like highly recommend. And just start with something easy, you know. There's a really good gratitude journal. I want to support a small Asian owned business, so I purchased the Joy Journal recently. The 5-minute journal is also really great. I will add that to the show notes. And and prayer is free, you know. You can close your eyes and start talking to God right now. And also, I want to really get back into manifestation, because the best time to manifest for like manifesting things, creating things, is when the sun rises. So in the morning with the sunrise, and the best time to show gratitude for your manifestations is in the evening with the sunset. So that is something I definitely want to get back into. But anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you found this conversation helpful and insightful, and I will talk to you guys next week. Love you. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Naked Yoga Podcast. My name is Nika, and if you want more content from me, you can follow me on Instagram or subscribe to my YouTube channel at Nourish Nika. This is a completely independent podcast. Yes, I write the scripts, record, and edit the podcast all by myself. Therefore, any support you could give, like a share, a comment, maybe leaving a little review on Apple Podcast or wherever you might be listening, would go a very long way and warm my little itty bitty heart. Thank you so much once again for listening, my love bug. I will see you in the next episode.